And we continue the portion of Vayakel Pekudei, double portion, which we end off the book of Exodus. One of the concepts that are striking in this double portion is that it seems to be a total repeat of the portions of Truma Tetzaveh. The bulk of the portion is about the construction of the sanctuary in the desert, the traveling sanctuary. In the portion of Truma Tetzaveh, earlier on, a few portions earlier in Exodus, the Torah describes how God commands Moses about how to build a sanctuary in the desert with all the details. The portion of Tetzaveh is about making the garments of the Kohanim, the Kohen that serves in the temple, the priest that serves in the temple, and all their details. Now, in this portion, it's about Moshe Rabbeinu coming back down the mountain and relaying this to the Jewish people and the implementation, how the Jewish people actually go about bringing the gifts, their donations and contributions to make the sanctuary, and the actual manufacturing and making of the sanctuary and erecting the sanctuary. It seems that if we were to edit these two portions, it could be simply redacted to just one simple verse. And Moses relates to the Jewish people the command about making the sanctuary, and the Jewish people implemented it, and it did exactly like Moses commanded them. That's it. This would make the lives of those who are reading the Torah a lot simpler. It's a very long double portion, and a very tough one at that, let me add.
Okay.
Why the repetition? Total repetition. Which gets into a question which we had earlier on in the Truma Tetzaveh portion. Why are even all the details necessary?
Yes.
So many details about how to make the ark and the measurements of the ark, the measurements of the menorah, and all the details of this. Why is that necessary for us to know? So while certainly there are deeper layers in understanding the Torah, and every detail of the Torah is significant and teaches us lessons, infinite lessons in life itself. But there's a general lesson we can learn from all of this. The world says the devil is in the details. What really is in the details? When do we specify details? When do we make a point of specifying details?
Something's important to you.
If something is important to you, you specify details. You know, if we're going to be traveling from point A to point B, sometimes the details matter to us. Sometimes the details really don't matter. You know, if we're just going to take an Uber from one point to a second point. So I guess in some situations, it may make a difference what type of Uber we're taking. But for the most part, just let me get there. I mean, it makes really no difference which vehicle I'm going in or whatever. I just need to get there. If it's maybe a longer distance, maybe it may make a difference in the level of comfort, and that may make a difference to me, perhaps. But if I'm going to be specifying what kind of home I would like, the details are important.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm going to be traveling somewhere, okay, I just need something temporary. The most important is I need to get to my destination. I need a room. Yes, this type of room, that type of room may make a difference, but most important is I need to get there. Something which is long-term, and it's most important, it's my home. The specifications are important. Am I going to be doing more entertaining? Is it something I need more areas of leisure, comfort, larger kitchen, smaller kitchen? The details are important because it has to conform to the lifestyle. It's my home. It's not just a roof over my head. It's my home. And here, when God is talking to Moses and conveying the details of the sanctuary, the fact that God is conveying the details, and so many details, on the very basic level, it implies that this is of utmost importance. Because in fact, the sanctuary is a home, is a place where God and the Jewish people are creating a home. And God is communicating and connecting to humanity. This is God's home. Yes, we get into other theological questions and issues. God's home is everywhere. As King Solomon says, when he was building the temple, heaven and earth cannot contain you. The sanctuary that I will build will contain you. It was a statement of humility. How can whatever I build can contain the infinite? But it was a statement of humility, really a rhetorical question, because God is requesting this. And what it means to have a home for God is where God's presence is felt. So that gives us insight into the details of the portion of Truma Tetzaveh. Why the repetition? The repetition, it may not make a difference if the repetition was about, and the contractor followed the specs. The contractor built the home according to the specs. That may not make a difference. But if your children are building the home, they didn't pass the buck. They didn't shirk the responsibility and say, okay, let's, we're going to make our contribution and their contractors are going to be doing it. But they all took it, they all participated willingly, actively, eagerly. That's noteworthy. That is noteworthy. When your child and your grandchild, Hashem, yes, they celebrate something special, and they will, let's say, they'll send you something. They'll send you a card, so they can buy a card and send you a card, and that's very meaningful. When they'll take a piece of paper and scribble something on it, a little crayon, scribble a little stick figure representing them and something, and a heart or something in there. Now, that is priceless. That means so much more than any Hallmark card and any other card that you can purchase. That is meaningful. That is touching. That's something that's a keeper. Yes, there you go.
It's like when your college son hand paints a beer logo from a brewery for you.
Is that their favorite or your favorite?
Well, it happens to be one of my favorites.
There you go. So yes, those are keepers. Those are keepers. The implementation in these two portions, Vayakel Pekudei, is not just telling us that Moses conveyed the instruction to the Jewish people appointed contractors, and it was done. The Torah portion of Vayakel Pekudei is telling us how the Jewish people eagerly took part in this. The relationship was so important to them, especially since this was the reconciliation after the sin of the golden calf. And it was a rejuvenation, literally, pun intended, of the relationship between the Jewish people and God. And the fact that they were all eager to participate on one level or another, that is noteworthy of an entire repetition, that every step of the way was meaningful to God. And therefore, this is recorded in the Torah, which teaches us that our acts count. What we do counts. It's, yes, hearing the command is noteworthy, and that is noteworthy of being recorded in the Torah. But just as noteworthy is how we take it, the implementation. When we are implementing, when we are doing mitzvahs, when we are doing an act of kindness and we are doing a mitzvah, that is noteworthy of being recorded in the Torah. That may seem like a little scribble that we're doing, but that scribble to a stranger means nothing. But to a parent or grandparent, it means everything in the world. To God, our mitzvahs are more than a scribble. They're an act of love. And that means everything in the world. That's why it's recorded. That's what this portion teaches us.